Wendie, Leah, good to see you both. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. It's nice to
You.
see you.
Yeah, nice to see you. Leah, it's interesting, right? When you have something that was such a really popular book, like The Chicken Sisters, I mean, now it's a series on Hallmark Plus, so exciting. What is that relationship with the original source material? Do you do a lot of research with the original book? Do you kind of leave it alone going into the series? I'm curious about that.
Well, they
I'd heard about it, but I didn't sorry, Wendy. I didn't want to read it until after. And then I read it and I enjoyed it, but I was like, oh, it's a little different. Like got to see why Annie did what she did, our showrunner.
yeah, I think it was a brilliant idea to switch the locale from the Midwest to the South. That was such a great inroad for us to go to that specific part of the country and to be able to don the accents and think of magnolia trees, and I don't know, there was just something very juicy and rich about that setting. And
Absolutely.
I got to rename my character. I decided Augusta would be a good name for her because then she could be Gus, because I sort of saw her as this very stripped down woman who wore a lot of men's clothes and stuff.
Absolutely. I do wanted to kind of ask about this too, because I really find it interesting when you have, shows or films that involve food, because I feel like you can look at it different ways. You can look at it as like, it's a series about like family and friends that has food in it, or it's a series about restaurants, food that has families and friends in it. Leah, how do you kind of look at something like the Chicken Sisters? Because I always find that interesting when I'm watching something like this. Like I think of food a lot, but then I also think of like the family, the relationships, and everything else.
I think the chicken is definitely second. It's the sisters. And to be honest, I never ate the chicken on the set, but I think people do associate food with family, and
Yeah.
I think that that's a really interesting, uh, you know, meeting point. But yes, it's definitely characters first, chicken second.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
Wendie, so
Agreed.
much happens before you go to camera on the Chicken Sisters, and you talked about it, right? Like character name changes in different settings. I find that so interesting. There's so many discussions. Then you go to camera. So from an acting storyteller perspective, you can look at it as two journeys, right? Before filming the Chicken Sisters and after filming the Chicken Sisters, or does it feel like one big journey with multiple steps from an acting storyteller perspective? I'm curious about that.
Well, after reading it, because it starts with the script, then the next big sort of test is when you sit down together with the other actors and see if you in fact have chemistry. And you never know until you're in the room together. And thankfully we did, and we all recognized it and felt incredibly grateful for having these lovely characters to play that were so multidimensional and there's a lot of conflict in this show, but it's also very funny and at times very heartfelt. And I just think that makes for the best storytelling.
And Leah, I'm curious if you can add to that a little bit based on what Wendy said, like that script to screen journey, right? Like actually getting scripts for the show and then actually going and seeing it come to life on screen. You can answer this in general or just with this show specifically, but what is that journey like for you as an actor, kind of reading the scripts and then actually seeing it like come to life and actually doing it? Does it change? Is it always the same? Like what was it like on this one specifically as well?
No, I think what Wendy's saying is true. Like sometimes there isn't magic and sometimes there is. And so you don't really know until you see it. And at this point in my career, I cringe a little just looking at myself because I guess you always but I also just feel so delighted watching my scene partners be so amazing.
Mhm.
And because I'm a director, I also see it in a whole other way because, as a director, you have the script, the shooting, the editing, and then the final product with the music and the effects and all of that. So
Yeah.
I haven't seen the show completely finished. So I'm really looking forward to what the other departments have done to it,
No, absolutely.
afterwards. We didn't see it with Margot's voice in it too, the
Right.
the narrator.
No, absolutely. Both of you have such an incredible body of work. Like, it's seriously an honor and privilege to speak with both of you. I just have to say that right now.
Thank you.
That's so crazy. And I did want to ask Wendy, how separate are past projects versus something like this, the Chicken Sisters? Like, do you naturally bring things like preparation mindset wise from past projects or past characters to something like this, or are they completely separate once you wrap them?
No, this one was a very unusual one for me, and I didn't quite know how to take it that they thought of me to play the cranky old witch. But I thought, well, that might be fun. I was reading Leah's part and going, oh, so she gets to be the pretty one who gets the handsome guy and all this stuff. But I did realize that it was a chance to branch out and take on what could be a very colorful character, and very grateful for it. But
Awesome.
another big reason that I wanted to do this was because I would get to work with this one with Leah. Um,
Oh,
we worked together, I don't know how many years ago, on a crazy little movie in, where were we? In
Albuquerque.
Albuquerque. Albuquerque, yeah. And I had a blast with her on that. So I knew she would be a really fun scene partner, and a fun person to, you go off to live in a place for 3 months
Yep.
with people, and you're away from your family and your friends and your animals, and you hope that you have landed in a place where you can make another little family to hang out with, and we got to do that.
Absolutely. And, Lee, it's interesting because, it's really exciting because, the show is going to be, premiering and streaming on Hallmark Plus, Hallmark's new, streaming service, which is really amazing. And I was just wondering, you look at this, like past projects or like, even what like Back to the Future and everything, were you ever conscious of the audience member ever like watching, the show or TV show or movie you were in while you were making it, or does that kind of happen once you wrap? Like, because I feel like with this, there's so many kind of like moments in this show, the Chicken Sisters, where it's like, oh, like that's gonna get a reaction, or how are people gonna react? Do you ever think about things like that? Because you also say you're a director as well, right? Or does that happen after you wrap, like audience watching something while you're making it?
Boy, it's hard to explain something you've been doing for so long. That's a very interesting question. I think if you start thinking about, oftentimes in order to be not self-conscious, I go like, who's on my shoulder that I'm worrying about, and I push them off because that kind of result kind of it makes your work not as interesting as far as I'm concerned. So really it's between the director and the script and the other actors, and you just give it up to the sky, and you never know whether it's going to be Back to the Future or Howard the Duck. It could go either way. And you just have to do your very, very best. And we really want to make something that's going to make people laugh and cry, because that's the business we're in. We're in the business of helping people, sort out their feelings and feel things that they don't allow themselves to feel. And of course, we want to affect people. So that's your hope. But first, you need to think about your scene partner and making the scene the best that you can, one little bit at a time.
That's interesting. And Wendy, I just wanted to ask you kind of a similar question in regards to comedy, right? Working out, you worked in a lot of genres, you worked in comedy specifically, and I find it's different, right? Because a show like this, like you said, it has some laughs, but it's very heartfelt and everything. You also have worked on, sitcoms like, Han Cleveland, Seinfeld, and everything. What is it about comedy specifically that kind of draw, like, what do you like about working in comedy? And like, have you, like, what do you think about all the changes in like sitcoms in the last couple of years as well? Like, I find that a very interesting space.
Oh, I love working in comedy. I love when people make me laugh, and I love to be able to do that for other people. I think comedies have sort of morphed into something far more interesting, and it's very hard to delineate between comedies and dramas sometimes now. And I think the
Mhm.
best of them, they they encompass both. You are taken into some darker, more heartfelt moments, where you see characters' vulnerabilities and sometimes see them going through pain or hardship. And then when they are funny, it's that much richer because you've been so waiting for that. It's like the balance that keeps you. It's like life. We all have like sadness and joy, and it's just part of being alive. So something that's just strictly for jokes and funny, I don't think has the kind of oomph and the weight and the draw. And I don't think you care as deeply about the characters if you don't sort of see their humanity.
No, that's very well said. And I really can't wait for everyone to check out the Chicken Sisters on Hallmark Plus. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot happening. Like I said, it's a lot of emotions too. You're very active. It's a very like phones down show in my opinion. Like I feel like you're gonna like you're gonna miss things if you're not paying attention. There is a lot of that in there. So
Love
I can't wait
that.
for people to check
Phone
that out on
down.
Hallmark
Phones
Plus.
down.
Phones down, absolutely. Wendie, Lea, again, honor and privilege to speak with you both. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
Thank you
Thanks.
so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.